At this point, it's pretty obvious that we give Disney a very hard time here on this channel when they make it so that people are not having a good time, either at their movies, watching Disney Plus, or going to their parks. And there's been a lot of that, unfortunately, but a spark is beginning to shine. And perhaps Disney has learned its lesson this time. Or could it be that someone involved is helping them change their ways? We're talking about Lilo and Stitch, and someone special who's come back to help Disney fix their big problems. Hello, come one and all. You are welcome here on the Pro Channel, and we're happy to have you. Each and every person seen and appreciated. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday week and weekend coming up. And folks, we're hoping that Disney is going to have things looking up. Moana 2 is not a great movie, but perhaps a movie on the horizon could be. Captain America 3 might be causing them serious consternation, but maybe there's one that is finding its way to a success across the nation. We're talking about Lilo and Stitch, and we're noticing that both the Lilo and Stitch trailer as well as the Sonic 3 trailer are showing companies, including Disney, what is possible when they don't go Snow White, they don't go Mufasa, but they give audiences a lot of what they want to. Oh, that's bad. But you know what, folks? The panel's not, and they're coming on right now. All right, that Park Place, we've got this one, and it is watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Lilo and Stitch live-action trailers land with big excitement. This is our positive Disney for the day, and we'll show you why, because we're trying to guide Disney in a better direction. It says, Thanksgiving week is a major time for movie-going, and the going is getting very good. For the prior, Paramount's Sonic movie trailer is just about as good as it gets. It could be a bad sign for Disney hopes that Mufasa will win at the box office during the Christmas break. It's hard to imagine exactly how Sonic could be marketed any better than it is presented in this preview. Now, folks, we would click the Sonic 3 trailer, the official trailer number 2, which is, by the way, as good as it gets. Unfortunately, Paramount, I think, would get us demonetized for doing so. It suffice to say, if you were looking to get little boys and their families and fans of the Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, and Sega Dreamcast era to come watch your movie, mission accomplished. It's as good as possible. It's flat out amazing. But Disney has done well as well. For the first time in a very long time, I feel that Disney nailed the Disney feeling. And it's not by accident. What I have found out is that with the Lilo and Stitch movie that's coming out Memorial Day of 2025, that Chris Sanders, who was the original director, writer, and just all-around creative, also the voice of Stitch from the original movie, he basically made this movie happen. In fact, the watercolor paintings in the background are because he was a huge fan of watercolor paintings. You may recall, Jonas, what movie did Chris Sanders just help put out there?
The Wild Robot.
The Wild Robot.
Which is amazing, by the way.
It's incredible.
Should get Best Picture for animated films, honestly. It's really, really great.
Disney has been very fortunate. They chased their geniuses away, but Chris Sanders has come back for Lilo and Stitch, not to direct, not to write, but to voice Stitch. But I have found out that when he talked with the director was so moved by him and his passion for this character and what it means that he has been brought on, and maybe unofficially, as a creative consultant behind the scenes. And he's had a huge impact on this film. And so I want to tell people, we're going to watch the trailer in just a second. I think this might actually be a good Disney movie that harkens back to a better time. Let's watch the trailer, see what you all think. This is the official teaser trailer for Lilo and Stitch coming out Memorial Day 2025. All right, panel. It's up to you to destroy me. Am I wrong to be excited about this? And am I reading too much into it when I see Stitch immediately destroy the Disney castle right off the bat? I feel like this is a Deadpool and Wolverine moment. I feel like maybe Chris Sanders came in and said, Let's have some fun, guys. Let's have some fun with this. Derek, I'll let you start off. Am I wrong to be excited about
it looks
the film?
great. No, perfect. Like you just said, with the destruction of the Disney castle, but it's short, it's to the point, and it reminds everybody of who Stitch is as a character, and they just leave it at that. They didn't spend a whole lot of time giving you a lot of, let's give them some of this or some of that. It's just a remake. And so I love it. That's perfect. That's exactly what you need. A short little teaser to whet everybody's appetite. And now we go on and we get ready for the main trailer. So yeah, this is a perfect, small, short little trailer. It gets you excited. It just reminds you, oh yeah, I remember Stitch. Yeah, that guy is insane. I love this. This is going to be I think they're going to do a good job with this one.
Okay. So any, Tom, any thoughts as to this versus the Snow White trailer that they're terrified to put out on YouTube? All right.
No, you're right. This is going to do amazing. As you guys probably all know, Stitch is huge with kids. Still sells a lot of merchandise. The series was very, very popular. In fact, I think it has a pretty strong following still as far as, multi-ages. I also got to push back a little bit on the Moana 2 thing. I think Moana 2 is going to do much better than you guys are thinking. I don't think most of the general public cares or is aware that this thing is a Disney Plus movie upgraded to theatrical. And I think it's going to do pretty well. I think this is going to do pretty well. I think at the end of this year, Disney is going to have at least, a few of the top 10, and then after Stitch is going to be a contender for the top film next year right now.
Let me give a little gentle pushback on the Moana 2 side of this. So, Tom, what I think is that because Moana 2 is going up against Wicked, and that is very similar demographics, right? Those are both feminine franchises, feminine properties. I think because they're going after the same crowd, if Moana 2 is very, very lackluster, and it stands the chance of being rotten within a very short span of time, because that the good reviews often land first. So if it turns out to be a very lackluster review coming out Tuesday evening, folks, from me, then I think that you might see a more significant fall off for the film than you would otherwise, because Wicked will pick up those people who are like, I heard it's not that great. I'll watch it on Disney Plus.
See, people are overestimating Wicked's second weekend. Here's the thing, because Wicked opened lower than Barbie did. And I don't think it's going to have the same kind of business overall as Barbie. And it has a little bit more competition coming up than Barbie had around it. And Barbie also benefited from the whole Barbenheimer thing. They did not manage to make Glicked happen.
Right.
It isn't going to work.
Internationally, but not domestically.
Yeah, well, the thing is with women, and we know this, they don't often go to movies more than once. And there's some people like myself who are rejecting this idea that Wizard of Oz is only a women's property. I grew up watching Wizard of Oz every damn year.
Yep.
I know more about Wizard of Oz than most of the women that are going to see Wicked.
But
I can Wizard of Oz them under the table.
Are Wizard and Oz and Wicked the same franchise, though?
Yes, they are. Okay. Because this movie, and I don't care what anybody says, it builds off of the MGM film, just like every other movie ever has since the MGM film. And if they had gone more with the books and other things that are in the books, then we'd have a different argument to be had.
Tom,
but the problem is it's public domain.
I bet Tom agrees with me, though, that I don't like how negatively they're portraying the wizard in Wicked.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my biggest problems with the movie. I could go through a dozen issues I have, and I haven't even seen the darn thing. I'm just stuff I'm hearing about.
Culture, put that back there. We weren't quick enough on the draw.
Well, this is unfortunately green screened, but that's the 70th
that's one
anniversary.
of them. I have the 3D version of that. Is that the same one I have?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so that's the same one I have. Yeah.
Actually, Culture, if you hadn't said people would have thought it was the most expensive packaging ever.
But I have a feeling that Wicked is going to fall off a little bit, and it does have more competition coming up, like Nosferatu and some other things.
Yeah,
and don't underestimate women. Don't underestimate women and vampires.
I think the musical aspect of it, I think it's going to have a lot of legs. I think this thing is going to probably stay in theaters a very, very long time. If you can remember how long, Wonka stayed in theaters forever. And I think the Wicked's going to have the exact same effect. Steph from My Nerdy Home was bringing that up to me. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, people go to musicals, and musicals tend to stick around a lot longer, just because they're musicals and people want to go and check it out. And they'll go back 3 or 4 times.
But okay, so I would agree that's a comparable, and it's the same conversation I wanted to have with Steph last night. But I'm a boy, so they don't let me on the girls' show unless you're Mike Harlow.
I told you, Culturina, I've got the solution.
Okay, I'll go get a wig. But
I stayed out of it so I wouldn't get into an argument with the ladies' culture.
Yeah, I know. It's just that you bring up Wonka as a comparable. I agree with you. It would be a comparable, except it only made $628 million. So it's not really a comparable.
Yeah, but it started out very small. If you look at its opening weekend,
think
about
no.
Over time, Wicked's a bigger property in terms of the musical aspect. A lot of women have already gone to see this thing 4 or 5 times, and I think that's going to continue.
Is Greatest Showman a comparable culture?
Sure. Yeah. Again. Okay. So these are the comparable. So Wonka and Greatest Showman comparable. Wicked though. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to keep saying it. Maybe there is a bunch of theater kids that go and keep re-seeing this thing. I just don't see it. Some of the people have complained about the performances and the music and the auto-tune and stuff like that. Some of the people have praised it, like Marvin, which I don't understand. But I'm looking at the numbers, the box office numbers. Wonka started off soft and still only did $218 million domestically overall. And you need the American audience for Wicked. Internationally, that audience is going to fade, and it's going to fade fast because there's a bunch of comps that Tom's talking about. Tom and I agree largely on this entire thing. I think it's not going to. I think it'll struggle to get to $1 billion. Okay,
you're talking about Wicked.
Oh, I already know Wicked is not going to make $1 billion. I can tell you right now.
I think it's going to make plenty of money, and the fact that there's a sequel coming, and
it's not a sequel.
Well, the thing about Wicked, you got to remember, it's cost $150
There's another
million.
movie in the same series. However, if you want to be very specific in
DA, I've been hearing that Wicked actually cost about twice as much as they're reporting. I'm hearing
okay.
But is it both movies combined that cost? Because I've heard that cost.
I heard it's like 450 now is what both movies cost together.
Okay, yeah. I had heard
because they also had reshoots.
I believe you, Tom. Plus the press tour that they've been going on has been expansive, and the ad campaigns have been huge.
Well, now the ad camp. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. They did spend a ton on their campaign, but then they did a brand deal partnerships with a ton of companies, Target, Starbucks. You name it, but even international deals, right? To try to get an international.
It'll make money. I'm not arguing that point, but I just don't think it's going to break the $1 billion. I don't think it has that Barbie appeal, mainly because of all the factors I just said.
Yeah,
and you're missing the kid factor here too. And because that's one thing I will agree with Pro is that if anything, the moms will go to the theaters, throw their kids into 2 showings of Moana while they go sit through Wicked again. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think mothers are going to want to go see Moana 2 with their kids, not knowing the stuff that we know.
Yeah,
guys.
I think a lot of
reaction might be differently.
I'm also going to throw one more thing in here to loop this back.
I think they got a sing-along coming up on Christmas as well.
Yeah,
that's going to bring.
But that's opening up against Nosferatu, so we'll see on that.
Yeah. I don't think those are the same audience, though.
But
there is one thing I want to throw in here. By the way, this Lilo and Stitch movie was already supposed to be out, and it was originally slated for Disney Plus. So this is yet another instance where Disney has taken something that is quote unquote good enough for Disney Plus and then plussed it up in order to put it in theaters, so they don't directly lose money on it. I'm going to agree with Tom here. I think that Moana 2 is going to make boatloads of money because a lot of the reviews that I'm seeing from parents and casual fans, they don't care about quality when they're talking about kids' films. They want something that keeps children entertained. And as long as it doesn't get on their nerves too much, while they're probably on their phones in theaters, speaking of audiences like the Wicked audience.
Yeah, that's another thing, ticking people off.
Yeah. If that's where theaters are heading, theaters are doomed. But I actually think that Wicked has legs to it, because this is the kind of film that if they can keep their stars' mouths away from the audience's ears,
that's the one I was going to make.
Then people will continue to show up. Go ahead, Marvin. If you can, I was better than I can.
I was going to make that point. I think the one thing that might be Wicked's downfall is the big press tour that they're doing, because every time Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande open their mouths, it's, I think the mushrooms in Oz are all gay. It's everything they say is just about how, for a movie that has the main central plot is a love triangle between two women fighting over a man,
which is the weakest part of the movie, by the way.
Yes, they try to make this into. Just wait for the second one, because the second one they're going to have a whole screaming. Yeah, that's true. They're gonna have a whole screaming argument about how, like, he's mine. Like it gets real petty real fast.
Now,
but
all of that said, we'll be watching to see how these movies perform. Will Moana 2 suffer because of Wicked? Will Wicked suffer because of Moana 2? Will the Sonic 3 marketing that has been phenomenal lift it up above Mufasa? And will people go see Lilo and Stitch? Give Disney another chance if Disney returns to form. We'll find out. We know they can drive the women to the box office. We saw that with Inside Out 2. We'll see what they do with Lilo and Stitch. Well, folks, we've come to the end of another video of pure excellence and fun. Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. That's what we hope you believe we've just done. And why should you believe it? Well, because we've done our very best to make it so. To be true, to be factual, and to do what the mainstream so-called access journalists simply won't. Folks, you can help share this out across the fruited plains of YouTube by clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, as we get ready to say sayonara for now, we ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep having fun.